Hello, and welcome back to ARS Biblica, the art of the Bible. I'm your host, Steve Finley, and together with Pastor Jeffrey Ernessy of Houston's Second Christian Church, we're having extended conversations about the creative writings in the Bible and how they can influence our life in this modern world. Welcome back, Jeffrey.
Hey, Steve. Good to be here.
These conversations have been incredibly illuminating, and I love the fact that we're able to have them and wander off into other areas of concern that people might have when looking at this book.
So today I thought we could look at Psalm 48.
48.
Now 48 is a little bit different in that it's not by David.
Okay.
It's also not anonymous. You know, when we were in Psalm 1, that was an anonymous psalm. Psalm 8 is a collection of psalms that are referred to as the Psalms of the Sons of Korah.
Yes.
If you know, again, there's a little bit of a story. There's
Sounds
some
like
history.
a band.
It does sound like a band, and there's some interesting comparisons to be done there, in that the Sons of Korah were a musical family. They were, and the musical gig, so to speak, was passed down from father to son, and they were a group of musicians in Israel descended from Korah, who's a character from the Torah. He's a sort of a antagonist of Moses, and the family of Korah was spared from the judgment that fell on Korah himself, and as a result, they have this real sense of grace. One of the things about the Sons of Korah is they understand grace.
I was just talking with some musician friends about that idea that one of my favorite musical groups is a family group called the Isaacs. And the mother, the matriarch of the family, is a Holocaust survivor.
Oh, wow.
And they immigrated to America, moved into Appalachia, all picked up bluegrass music. And now they're just one of the most wonderful, their harmonies and the way they play together. And it's all because they're a family, the Isaacs. They're remarkable. So this is something,
Sons of Korah, sort of thing. And in fact, one of the things that sets them apart musically, or from an authorship point of view, is that with a couple of exceptions, they don't take individual credit for the psalms that they wrote. It's credited to the group.
To the group, yeah. It's like if a band,
Well, it's like Lennon and McCartney.
That's right. That's right.
Which of them wrote which things doesn't matter. They're getting credit either way.
Right.
And it's the same way with the Sons of Korah. So when you hit one of the Psalms of the Sons of Korah, you're hitting this. When was it written? I don't know, but it was written by this group of people that have this flavor to their way of looking at the world. And Psalm 48 is an interesting example of several poetic devices that we might want to talk about. That's why I've chosen it, is to talk about that. And it's superscription. Again, the superscription is the little squiggly bit at the top that isn't meant to be part of the song, but tells you things about it. Says, a psalm of the Sons of Korah. That's all we get. It's a psalm and it's a song. Well, what's the difference, really? But it's the idea is we're going to sing this joyfully. This is when it says a psalm, you're meant to kind of like put some real exuberance into it.
Psalm 48. Great is the Lord, and greatly to be praised in the city of our God. His holy mountain, beautiful in elevation, is the joy of all the earth. Mount Zion in the far north, the city of the great King. Within her citadels, God has made himself known as a fortress. For behold, the kings assembled. They came on together. As soon as they saw it, they were astounded. They were in panic. They took to flight. Trembling took hold of them there, anguish as of a woman in labor. By the east wind you shattered the ships of Tarshish. As we've seen, so have we seen in the city of the Lord of hosts, in the city of our God, which God will establish forever. Selah. We have thought on your steadfast love, O God, in the midst of your temple. As your name, O God, so your praise reaches to the ends of the earth. Your right hand is filled with righteousness. Let Mount Zion be glad. Let the daughters of Judah rejoice because of your judgments. Walk about Zion, go around her, number her towers, consider well her ramparts, go through her citadels, that you may tell the next generation that this is God, and our God forever and ever. He will guide us forever.
And it starts out plainly enough. We think of the Psalms as songs of praise to God, which again, most of them are, with considerable number of exceptions. And this is an odd one in that great is the Lord and greatly to be praised in the city of our God. So we start out, we're going to praise God, but we're going to talk about the city. And the rest of the psalm is about the city. And I don't know, I know some songs that are about particular cities.
Do you know the way to San Jose?
And it's that flavor, right? That we're going to sing a song about our favorite city, right? When you go to San Francisco, wear flowers in your hair. Or, there's a Rush song about New York.
Sweet home, Chicago.
So there's all of those, yes. This is my town, and I'm going to sing a song about it. And that's what Psalm 48 is. It's a song about how awesome their hometown is. And that's such an odd thing to encounter in the Psalms.
Yeah.
But it's there. Great is the Lord and greatly to be praised in the city of our God. His holy mountain, beautiful in elevation. Now, on the one hand, sure. On the other hand, it's not that high a mountain, really. And that's an example of a poetic device that you mentioned the last time we were recording, just in passing. The device is called hyperbole.
Yeah.
And hyperbole is the idea of exaggeration
For effect.
For effect.
Right.
Sometimes the effect of hyperbole is humorous.
Tried to call her 1,000,000 times.
Exactly. You can use hyperbole to good comedic effect. Jesus does that when he talks about why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye when you have a log in your own. Well, nobody actually has a log in their eye. It's hyperbole. Right. And so quite often it's employed for comedy, but here it's employed out of affection. It's like when a man says of his wife, she's the most beautiful woman in the world. Well, is she? Probably not. But to him.
But to him, that's right.
My children are the most wonderful kids. To me, are they objectively? No. They're pretty mediocre. But from the point of view of the sons of Korah, whichever of them, singular or plural, wrote this song, God's holy mountain is beautiful in elevation, is the joy of all the earth. And again, is it? Well, from their point of view. This is one of the things you get to do in poems.
Right.
Mount Zion in the far north, the city of the great king. And now they've hit on one of the things that makes it exceptional, is that the king God chose is enthroned there.
Right.
That's what's so awesome about it. Within her citadels, God has made himself known as a fortress. Now that's interesting, because what they're saying is, here's the walls of Jerusalem. It's a citadel. But the real fortress, the real thing that makes this mountain defensible, isn't the walls, although the walls are nice. It's God.
Right. This psalm, and I just realized it as you were speaking, that this psalm is where I got the image for my song, Fortress in My Mind, is from this, talking about God being the fortress.
And then they move from just admiring the walls to talk about how the other nations might feel. And it's in their mind. In their mind they picture, for behold, the kings assembled as they came together. As soon as they saw it, they were astounded. They were in panic. They took to flight. Trembling took hold of them there, anguish as of a woman in labor. By the east wind you shattered the ships of Tarshish. As we have heard, so we have
That's
seen.
another one of those. That's another one of those images, like we talked about last time. The
Geography.
cedars of Lebanon.
Right.
That's a thing. Well, so are the ships of Tarshish.
Right. As we heard, so we have seen in the city of the Lord of hosts, in the city of our God, which God will establish forever. And we get a Selah. We get a pause and consider that, right? That piece of musical notation that means you get a solo here if you're the musician.
And the listener gets a moment to think about what was just said.
Exactly. And so the picture that they're painting here, and this is not something, you can't picture that this is something that really happened, that all the kings roundabout got together and came to tour Zion, right, and were all very impressed. He's speaking historically, that from time to time this king or that king would come up against Jerusalem and they would try to attack, and God would defend the city in some marvelous way. And so then they would be unsuccessful. But in the aggregate, what he pictures, what the psalmist pictures, is it all happening sort of at once, right? For behold, the kings assembled, they came together. And by the way, that's another example of a poetic device. In this case, it's kind of the opposite of the one we talked about last time, synecdoche. This one is metonymy.
Metonymy.
Metonymy. And metonymy is when we talk about something by way of something associated with it. So when he says, for behold, the kings assembled, the idea is the kings came and brought their army. But we don't mention the army, we just mention the king. The king came up against, well, don't picture the king standing out there with a sword all by himself. So the whole army is with him.
Right.
It's like when we say the White House issued a press briefing. Well, who really did?
Right.
The House did nothing.
Right.
Don't blame the House for that.
Right.
Wasn't the House's fault. Yeah. Or when we say, the news is good on Wall Street. Well, the street doesn't care one way or the other.
Right.
What's going on there is all the traders doing their stocks. Yep. So here, the kings assembled. Well, did they? Yes.
Yes, but they brought some
in a metonymous way.
Yeah.
So that's the picture, and he goes even to, by the east wind you shattered the ships of Tarshish. Tarshish is the furthest away country that anyone writing at the time knew about. Tarshish is what we would think of as Spain.
Okay.
And so picture the outermost end of the Mediterranean Sea, the furthest you can go in that direction.
It's the end of the world.
It is.
At that time.
Right. It's the furthest you can go, and for all they knew, there was nothing beyond it.
That's the edge of the map, and
right. And so when he says the ships of Tarshish were shattered by an east wind, he's saying before they could even get here to attack us, because Jerusalem's landlocked pretty well. The ships couldn't even get all the way here, and they had to. Did ships from Tarshish ever come to attack Jerusalem? I don't know. But if they did, they never got there. That's the picture. And it's not that the psalm, again, we have this weird relationship because we live in a scientific age that we want exactitude in reporting. We want exact numbers. We want exact dates and times.
Statistics.
We want statistics. We want scientifically validated results. That's how we think of things. We've so privileged scientific truth over every other kind of truth. And this isn't scientific truth. It's not even historical truth. It's poetic truth. If you sat the psalmist down and said, did any of that really happen? The psalmist would say,
Does it matter?
it doesn't. No. What matters is, this is how I feel about the city. This is how I've seen God operate. This is the sort of thing that God does.
Right.
And so we've been having our own Selah here about this as we pause. But then the psalmist continues, we have thought on your steadfast love, O God. I want to stop there just for a minute and talk about that term steadfast love, because that's a word of real poetic worth that we encounter again and again and again in the Psalms, particularly, although throughout the text of Scripture more generally. And it's a slippery word. It's a word that's very difficult to translate. And this is where we have to remember that we're dealing with always with the translation. We're reading poetry in translation, which is not, in other circumstances, my preferred way to read poetry at all. And I would always rather look at the original language if possible, because you're just missing so much.
Well, we've talked about the fact that it's so difficult to translate. Where things like rhyme and
right,
internal rhyme and assonance and those kinds of things.
It's really good that the primary unit of Hebrew poetry isn't one of those things that doesn't translate,
right,
like rhyme or alliteration or assonance. Although those things do exist in the text sometimes, and we just miss them. But here, the writer reaches for this word that is in many ways kind of a worship word. It's a word of real moral worth. When he says steadfast love, the Hebrew word is chesed.
Chesed.
Yes, and you have to put some back of your throat on
Get
that,
some
right?
phlegm into it.
You do. But it's chesed. And chesed is this very difficult to translate word because we don't have a good English equivalent for it. Because on the one hand, it has to do with the covenant. It is a covenantal word.
Okay.
Right? But then also, it's a word about affection.
Right.
So it is, on the one hand, about loyalty to a covenant, and on the other hand, about real, genuine affection. So if you picture God's loyal, covenantal affection, that's chesed. But who has time for that in the text?
Right.
And so steadfast love is what they do with it. But it is one of about 5 Hebrew words that appear over and over again in the text and seem to be reflective of the personality of God. So there's
affectionate loyalty.
That is one of the aspects of God's personality. What can we count on from God? Chesed. We can count on affectionate, covenantal, steadfast loyalty, right? And that's powerful. And then often paired with it is a word that, depending on whether it's a noun or an adjective, will either be emeth or emunah. And it's very related to our word amen. And what it means is faithfulness, reliability.
Okay.
And so that those two words often come together, and we might as well do the other 5. They are tzedek, which is righteousness, mishpat, justice or judgment, and kadosh, holiness. And so those 5 words together kind of encompass the personality of God, and you can't look at the text for very long without encountering them. So we have thought on your steadfast love, your chesed, O God, in the midst of your temple. As your name, O God, so your praise reaches to the ends of the earth. And there's that idea, we're going in our minds as far as you can go in any direction. Your right hand is filled with righteousness. Let Mount Zion be glad. And notice again the poetic devices that are at work in this. We've thought of on your steadfast love, O God, in the midst of your temple. It's location. Mm-hmm. As your name, O God, so your praise reaches to the ends of the earth. As your name, so your praise is this equivalence, right? Your name is like it's a metonymous way, it's metonymy, of saying your reputation.
Okay.
So your reputation is such, God, that everywhere people hear about you, which is everywhere, they praise you. Now, again, was that true when they were writing this?
Well, there were certainly nations around them that had other gods.
Exactly. In fact, the only place where God's reputation and his praise were consistent was in Israel.
Right.
But one of the things that's interesting about the Psalms is there will often be things that are true in a hyperbolic way at the time that they were writing them that then just become true later on in plain fact.
Right.
Because the fact of the matter is, as New Testament people, as Christians, when we look around, Christianity is everywhere.
Yeah. Embedded into the Western world.
A third of the human race is Christian.
Right.
The largest church in the world is in South Korea.
Yeah.
And so, quite honestly, as your name, O God, so your praise reaches to the end of the earth. Now, if you would ask the writer or writers of this psalm, is that true? Well, yes and no. I mean, it wasn't true, but maybe. It's
aspirational.
What's a dream then becomes a reality. And the Psalms all have this quality that what is quite often a dream, a hope, a wish, an aspiration in the Bronze or Iron Age when these Psalms were produced becomes simple fact.
Right.
And it's kind of weird and powerful that way. So we have thought on your steadfast love, O God, in the midst of your temple. As your name, O God, so your praise reaches to the end of the earth. Your right hand is filled with righteousness. Now, again, that's a metaphor. We don't think of God having a right hand. And it's some synecdoche, again, because it's the part for the whole, right? It's not that it's just God's right hand that's filled with righteousness.
Right.
He is filled with righteousness.
Right.
And
there's a sense in that image that the right hand is the worker's hand.
Exactly. And it's going to go to work for us.
For us, that's right.
And there's that word righteousness, that Zedek word. Your hand is one of the characteristics of God is that he goes to work with righteousness. So let Mount Zion be glad. Let the daughters of Judah rejoice because of your judgments. And daughters of Judah, again, it's a metaphorical way of talking about the people of the tribe of Judah. And again, its location. The tribe of Judah, the territory of the tribe of Judah, Jerusalem is right on the edge of that territory. And so then the psalm closes with this really lovely invitation to the reader. Walk about Zion. Go around her. Number her towers. Consider well her ramparts. Go through her citadels, that you may tell the next generation that this is God, our God forever and ever. He will guide us forever. And when he says this is God, he doesn't mean the city is God.
Right.
It's
another metaphor.
It's another metaphor. What he means is God did all of this.
Yeah.
None of this happened because we're awesome or the king is awesome or we accomplished this in some way.
Right. Well, and these the things that we've been talking about are all designed to make those of you in our audience understand the poetry better and derive more joy and edification from them.
Yeah, that's our rubric, sort of, is to equip the reader by helping them to understand the poetic devices that are at work in the text. And the thing is, you kind of know it when you hear modern music. You know that the musicians are getting away with things that they couldn't get away with if it was a scientific article.
Right.
You know, even just you think about a poem like Robert Burns's "My Love Is Like a Red, Red Rose."
We'll have to get into that next time because we're out of time for this conversation. Just when we really get into the meat of it, we have to curtail our activities until next time. But thank you so much, Jeffrey, for all those insights, and we'll get back to that Robert Burns poem in a future episode.
All right.
And thank you for joining us here at ARS Biblica, the art of the Bible. We wish you blessings and knowledge for all your days.